Hi, welcome to Headfirst Web Development. In this project, we will be learning web development by directly diving into a particular project, which is IPL dataset visualization. The advantage of this approach is that it's quite fast, as well as you will only be learning things that are needed. And it's also a fun way of learning web development. So let's get right down to it. So to begin with, this is the visualization that you see, and you've also been given access to this particular project directory with all the files and folders. So first, let's get the project up and running. Later, we will see how each of the files and folders are wired together, which in turn results in this particular visualization. And then later, we will see how to build this project from scratch so that you will understand how all of the pieces are interacting with each other, as well as how to make further changes to this project. So to run the project, you need to first go to your terminal and then run npm run IPL. All right, it ran node index.js and something happened. We don't know what happened, but that's the steps that has been given in readme.md. That is once you have the project set up. And after that, here's npm run IPL, and after that you're supposed to run npm run start. Here it says starting up HTTP server and then serving this particular directory, which is /public. Okay, and it's available on this particular IP address. And if we open the IP address in our browser, we should be able to see the visualization. Okay, and here localhost is also an alias for the same IP address. So this particular IP address always refers to your own system. Okay, so we have this beautiful visualization here, which shows the number of matches played in each season for the IPL. Okay, this is great, and we also know that these files and folders have resulted in this particular visualization. So but how does it actually work? That's something that we need to understand. So to do that, what I'm planning to do now is to actually rebuild the same files and folders from scratch so that you can see how all of them are wired together. So I'll start from scratch and then import one of these files at a time, and then we will keep running the project at each step so that you see how this project actually is built from the ground up. So let's get back to our terminal. So here's the project running. So, and let's see where this particular project is located, which is in project/IPL. So I'll try to create another directory called IPL in a different directory. So I'll go inside projects, and then maybe I'll create another directory called archive. Archive already exists, so I'll go inside that. Okay, and I have an IPL directory here. So because we're starting from scratch, I'm going to remove that particular directory. I use rm-rf and then delete the directory. So this is how you can delete a directory on bash terminal. Alright, so now we don't have any other directory, so I'm going to create a new directory from scratch. So for that, usually you can create a directory using mkdir, but for this particular example, because we are using npm, we'll use npm to initialize a particular directory, and we will see how that works. When I say npm init, it's like we're creating a new node.js project, and we can call the project whatever we want to. So I'm going to call it IPL, and then usually the version I'll set it to 0.0.1. Description is this is IPL data visualization, and then the entry point will be index.js. We're not going to write any tests as of now, so I'm going to leave that as it is. Leave the git repository as well. Keywords is IPL, and author field I can add my email ID, but I'll leave it as empty. Okay, yeah, this looks fine. All right, so now if I look at what are the files and folders present in this particular directory, there's a package.json file created. So I want to move this inside a directory called as IPL. So now I'll create an IPL directory, and move package.json inside it. Oh, inside the IPL directory, sorry. Okay, so now I have IPL, and inside that I have package.json. So let's open this particular file that we have just created in our editor. So I'll go inside projects and archive and IPL. Okay, so I have, this is my new window which only has the package.json that just got created, IPL data visualization, and the keyword is IPL. And then we have this I want to keep the other project open as well so that we can keep using that. So I'll say open workspace, new window. Yeah, that's what I want. Okay. And now I'll open the old directory for reference. And then the goal for us is to achieve the project structure and the file structure of the original project, but we're going to build it from scratch. That's the purpose of this particular editor, and we'll have this editor as a reference to see how far we have reached. All right. So the first thing that I'd like to do is, right now we don't even have any files. So the first step that I'd like to do is to just render something in the browser and then see how to get that to work. Right. So for that, what we will need in our new project, let me go inside the project directory, is we will need an HTTP server inside this particular project. So for that, what I'll do is I will install the HTTP server Node.js library inside this particular project directory. So I'll do npm install HTTP server, and we want to save this as a dependency in this particular project. So I will use save as a flag. So once that's done, now if I go and examine package.json in our directory, you will see that in dependencies I have HTTP server as a dependency for this project. Okay, that's great. So now we can access and run HTTP server in this particular project. So once we have the server, we also need some files that the server can actually render. So for that, what we will need is a directory with some files. So we will, the convention is to call it public. By public is that only this particular folder is what will be available to the world. That's why it's called public, and the rest of the files and folders will not be accessible by everyone. And inside public, we need a file called index.html. That's what the HTTP server by default serves. So inside the public directory, I'm going to create a file called index.html, and then here let me just say hello world for now. Okay, if I just save this and then go back to my terminal, and then I need to run this HTTP server. So for that, what I'll do is I'll add a command here called start, and then when start is run, what we want to execute is we want to execute the HTTP server module that's present there. So when Node.js, or when we say npm run start, it looks at this particular command and it runs it, and by default, if it finds a module with the same name, then it's going to execute that module. So let's see what happens. So if I say npm run start, it did run HTTP server, and by HTTP server it went and looked for that particular module inside the public, and the convention is to serve a public directory. So now if I go, and it's running on port 8081, so I go to localhost 8081, and I should see hello world here, right? So this is the simplest way of how you can get started with this project. So far what we have done is we have initialized a new npm or node project with npm in it, and then we have this package.json which keeps a record of all the dependencies for this project. We've installed HTTP server, which is a program to serve files using the HTTP protocol. So practically every website that you listen to is an HTTP is you are accessing that over HTTP. So we're trying to do the same thing. So that is the first step for this project. So we have and index.html, and we are running hello world there. But we don't want hello world, we want to render IPL dataset visualization. So for that, what we'll do is we'll go and refer to the files that are present here. There is some skeleton code that you will need as part of the initial HTML setup. We will understand it more as and when we go. There is a header section, there's a head section, there's a body section, and there are different headers. So let's see what happens if I copy not everything so far, but just the skeleton, and I'm going to remove these three lines. So it's quite straightforward. I just have one particular container here called h1, and the rest of the stuff is a skeleton, is a boilerplate code, which you can add by default to any HTML page, and we have this IPL visualization. So once if I have this, I go back to the browser and refresh, I see the latest update, which is IPL visualization and IPL dataset visualization. So this is the second step for the project. After this, what we want to do is we can actually try and render a dummy visualization. We don't yet have the data pertaining to the IPL project, but what we can try and do is we can build a dummy visualization, and then later a job would be to render the same visualizations, but instead of using a dummy data, we'll be using the actual IPL data. So for that, what I'll do is I'll go to high charts and I'll look at a demo. So I'm here, I'm looking at possible visualizations. I'm just looking for a simple bar chart for now. So maybe this. And I look at the options. So here, the way high chart works is I'll first of all have to import the high charts module into my browser itself. So there are two things here, right? So one is there are ways where I can import a JavaScript library like we did for the HTTP server, but that technique will not work because the same file needs to be accessed by my browser. So for this purpose, what we will do is we'll require the high charts module directly from the from a public server. Okay, so let's see how do we import this. Okay, installation. Alright, so this is just include the JavaScript files in the head section of your web page as shown below. So we'll do that in the head section. So I have included. So when we add this particular script tag, let's see what happens in the browser. So if I go here, I can open the network module of the browser, and then if I refresh the page this time, it is actually requesting code.highcharts.com for this particular library, right? So this library gets loaded, and then I should be able to access high charts from here. So if I look at high charts, you will see this object getting returned. So now high charts is available in our project. However, if I go and so now I can also use that particular project. If I comment this line of code and if I refresh the page, this time high charts is not imported. So if I try and access high charts, it says it's not defined, right? So but we do need high charts for this project, so I'm going to import this high charts library in our front end code. So once we do that, and if I refresh this time, again try to access high charts, this time we have that particular object available to us. Okay, all right, so once we have that, we can again use the demo code to we can start using that particular library. So I'll look at how to use that library. So you have to say high charts, then you call a method on it, which is chart. You pass a container inside which you want to actually render the visualization, and then later you can pass this object. So what I'll do is and that's what we already have created. If you look at the original repo, we have this div which is acting as the container for that particular visualization. I'm going to copy that. It has some height and width, and it has an ID as well. So I'm going to go here add that particular div as a container, which will act as a container for the visualization. So once I have that, I will also need a place where I can actually write this code, and that piece of code should also be accessible to the browser. So for that, what I'll do is I'll create a file called app.js. Now this is also a JavaScript file, but this is being fetched from a remote server which is available here at code.highcharts.com. However, now we will also include another script tag, but this time this particular file will be available from our own machine. So that's what we are seeing here as well. So script src app.js is available here. So I'm going to copy the same code just before the body ends. We can discuss a bit later as to when you use a script tag inside the head and inside body. For now, you can assume that they are equivalent. Once we have the app.js file, so to test, I'm just going to say console log hello IPL, and now we should be able to see this particular console statement inside our front-end project. So if I refresh this page, I see hello IPL, and whatever code I'm going to add to this particular app.js is still accessible to my browser because this file is also present inside the public directory. So now instead of console log, what I'd like to do is I want to render a dummy visualization. So I'm going to copy this code that's there to render dummy visualization, copy it, go back, paste it here, and then instead of passing container, what is it that our ID is called? Matches played per year. So I'm going to copy that. I pass that as the container div for our visualization. If I refresh this page now, I'm expecting a visualization. So you see, we have actually successfully rendered a visualization. This is not the IPL data visualization that we need. However, it's a visualization. Now this makes our job much easier. So now we know how to render visualization inside a simple HTTP web page. Okay, using the HighCharts module. All I have done is created an empty div and invoked the highcharts.chart function with a container, which is the space where the visualization is held, and passed it an object. Right, and highcharts takes care of showing this beautiful visualization. Now the next step for the project would be, if instead of this particular object, if we were to show, or if we were to have access to the IPL dataset, then our job is done. Then we would have completed the visualization. So then we need to come up with a mechanism which will make the actual IPL data available inside the public directory. So that's the second part of this project. Okay, so let's get to the second part now.